Hello from Home Park, where it sounds like there's an Elton John concert going on in the bar just away to the side over there. Hull City finish 1 each here against Plymouth Argyle. City now unbeaten after their 2 championship games, though to be fair, when Ibrahim Sissoko smacked in early in the second half, you thought it might be their first defeat in the championship under Tim Walter. But credit to City, they recovered from that setback from going a goal down, and they scored a wonderful goal. And it's one that Wayne Rooney's just said was exceptional in his post-match press conference to describe Lewie Coyle's strike. It was brilliant. It started from out on the side, on the flank. Lewie Coyle drove to the edge of the box, played a 1-2 with Liam Miller, and then unleashed an absolute pearler of a volley into the top corner via the post. And they always look better, don't they, when they're crashing off the post? And in fairness, although Argyle had a couple of openings thereafter, Pandor made a couple of saves that I would say, without being too harsh, were regulation saves. City were the better team going into the final half an hour or so, and with better decision making in the final third, they may well have got themselves a winning goal. And so that's it. So yeah, a point on the road. Look, this was maybe we were expecting too much coming here. This was a difficult game. Argyle was smashed 4-0 at Sheffield Wednesday last week. It was obviously Wayne Rooney's first game in charge at home in the league. They did beat Cheltenham here in the cup in midweek, but this was his first game. The crowd were bang up for it. It was sold out. So this wasn't an easy assignment for Hull City. And I think, you know, I kind of felt that coming here this was a game that they really needed to come and win. But maybe, as I say, maybe kind of oversimplifying it a bit and not giving Argyle the credit for perhaps. You know, they're a proud bunch. The players were hammered after what happened at Hillsborough on Sunday. So they got a reaction. And look, in that first half was scary. And I know, you know, we had Henrik on the 1904 Club podcast way back, sometime in June, and he described Walter's style as heart attack football. And you laugh, you sort of go, yeah, okay, a bit, because you've not seen it, you don't really know what that means. I'll be honest, at half time I was getting ready for the defibrillator because it was pandemonium. It was like an out of control basketball game, and they just don't play. They didn't play with any control, and that is the worry for me. Is that the midfield setup isn't working. You've got kind of Regan Slater is pushed wide, so they're not getting the best out of Regan. Xavier Simons, as I can't help but say, in the middle of the park is he's just getting overrun in there. We said it on Wednesday night when Mika Seri came on at half time. He added control to proceedings. He gave them a base, a footing in midfield, and they controlled the game. They controlled the game in Wednesday's half, in the second half of that game. He obviously didn't play today. He's on the bench. I think we all expect that Mika Seri's going to move on before, at some point. I know the window closes here a week on Thursday, but elsewhere in Saudi, in Turkey, it doesn't close until sometime in September. So, but it looks like he's not long for this world at Hull City, unfortunately. They were better in the second half, and Tim said this to me just now, that in transition they were too profligate. They didn't have enough ball. They had more of it in the second half without really creating out-and-out chances. I think they had 16 attempts on goal in the game, which away from home is mind-boggling. But they only had 2 or 3 on target, which is something that they need to look at. And they're not getting, for whatever reason, and I don't know why that is, they're not getting anything out of Oscar Estupiñán. In fairness, he scored a really good goal in the first half, but he was offside again, and that is his Achilles heel. He's offside all the time. That was more difficult today because he was right in the middle of the pitch, back to goal, and he turned and shot, and it was a good finish. Too many times for me, Oscar is offside when he pulls wide and he's looking straight along the line, which is unforgivable. But lack of movement from him today. The ball was going in, it wasn't sticking, and it wasn't given. They didn't have a presence in the final third of the pitch for much of the game, and so every time it went forward, it was coming back, and it just became, as I said, there was nothing in midfield, and they just bypassed it, Plymouth, every time. And my fear. And only time will bear this out. My fear against quality teams, and I don't mean that disrespectfully to either Bristol City, Sheffield Wednesday, albeit their second team, or Plymouth here today, against good quality teams in the final third at this level, a Burnley, a Sheffield United, perhaps a Leeds. against teams that have got better quality up front, they'll get punished. Because Plymouth, there was a moment in the first half where Pandor's played just an absolutely torrid ball out from the edge of his box, and it's gone straight to Joe Edwards, and he spooned it wide. Against a Burnley, you kind of feel like that's going to be on target, and they're probably going to score. So that's something that I feel it will come with sharpness. And Tim's made a great point just now. You know, it's taken him, Tim Walter, 8, 9, 10 years to get his style of play, and not perfect it, because you never perfect it, but to get it to where he wants his style to be. He's been with this group of players for 8 weeks, so it's perhaps not surprising that they are struggling. Defensively, they're struggling to play out. And I've said this before, that when they played out previously under the former manager, there was a structure to what they were trying to do. You feel there was a conviction in their passing. Too often just now, Pandor will play out to McLaughlin, and he'll sort of get a bit confused, and then he'll start to go forward and turn back. We saw it with Lewie Coyle in the first minute, first set from kickoff, in fact. You know, they went to go forward, he turned back on his left, went all the way back to Pandor, and Pandor ended up giving it to Alfie Jones. Alfie Jones gave it away really sloppily, and they've got a shot on goal. And it's that sort of thing they've got to sharpen up, and the manager says he wants them to go forward more. It's hard, isn't it? Because it's the second game of the season, and we know that this first month of the campaign is kind of get through it, is with everything intact, with as many points on the board as you can, by which point you come to the 14th of September against Sheffield United. You've had the international break on the training pitch, you've got all your players in, they've had a good chunk of time pretty much 2 weeks on the training pitch, and things will look a lot better. But this is a work in progress. This is going to take time, and in fairness to the players, they're trying to learn on the job in front of a crowd and in front of media. You know, they'd much rather, in some respects, I guess, do it behind closed doors and perfect it on the training pitch and come and play in front of the public in 6 months' time. They don't have that luxury, of course. They're doing it, you know, in front of fans, and so every mistake is being amplified. And some mistakes are pretty bad. The Plymouth goal, Tim, we disagreed. Frankly, I said to Tim just now that I felt that the opening goal was born out of City's inability to clear the ball in the penalty. It bounced around. McLaughlin fluffed it. Alfie Jones fluffed it. Nobody could. Sometimes you just got to put your foot through it and clear the ball, clear your lines, as you would say. And they didn't. They were faffing again. I've used that term before. Unnecessary faffing. And trying to be too clever in playing out, and in the end nobody cleared it, and Ibrahim Sissoko's let rip with an absolute pearl of a shot, and it's past Pandor before he sees it, and they were a goal down, and suddenly this crowd, which were good again as they were on the final day of last season, you know, City had started the second half really well actually, and I always felt that as soon as I said that, at risk of putting the curse on it, City have come out with a lot more control in the second half than they had in the first half. And then obviously the goal comes out pretty much out of nothing, in fairness. Plymouth weren't. It's hard to say Plymouth were building up a head of steam, and you felt like a goal was coming. In the first half, if they'd have scored after half an hour, 25 minutes, I'd have gone, yeah, you felt there was a goal coming, because the way they were pressing, without getting into the penalty area too much, they were pressing, they were just picking up on City's looseness in possession and out of possession. But look, and Lewie Coyle's goal was, if you've not seen it, you will see it. It's absolutely fabulous, and it's what I liked about it was Lewie's intent to come in off the flank, go into Liam Miller, who we'll come on to in a minute, and Liam's touch. So often in those situations, the touch can be a bit too heavy, a bit too soft, but it was just perfect in it, and it fell at Lewie's feet, and I think that's his first goal since West Brom away, October time last season, I think it is. So you know, pretty much, you know, almost a year since Lewie scored. But I do feel like in this setup he will have more opportunities because he's pushing so far forward. So look, it's a work in progress, and I don't think we should get too uptight just yet. Look, I'd be lying if I said I've not got concerns. Absolutely, I've got concerns. Defensively, the way they put the ball at risk without real conviction. Sometimes, and I reiterate the word faffing, there's too much unnecessary faffing. But there's, you know, that team is not the team that's going to be the team come, you know, September the 14th and beyond. I don't think. You've got Mason Burstow. I thought looked bright when he came on. He changed a bit the dynamic of the game, because Oscar, the way he set up, Plymouth could push him back. There was never any threat of City going in behind really with Oscar there, but suddenly Burstow coming on enabled City to push higher up the pitch. By default, it dropped Plymouth a bit deeper, which did have an impact. And he had a couple of nice touches, a moment, one nearly moment late on in the game. Charlie Hughes was named on the bench, didn't get on today, but after a week's training, I wonder if we might start to see him. Oscar Zambrano was here, but not, it's worth pointing out, because I know there was a lot of questions about why he wasn't involved. I mean, he's just come from South America. He's only, he's been in the country a few days. It's a bit much to throw him in to a game like this, with respect. And he only had one training session. He trained on Friday morning before they then flew to Plymouth, or flew to Exeter Airport on Friday afternoon. So to throw him in would have been ridiculous. But you'd imagine he will be in the squad next week. It's a shame. The frustrating thing about going out the cup against that lot in midweek was the fact that an extra cup game at the end of the month, just before the window closes, would have given Walter a chance to play Zambrano, to play Mason Burstow, to play Charlie Hughes and any other players that arrive, and we'll come on to that in just a second, as I say. But that, say la vie, that is the way that they're at the cup, and that's something they're going to have to play bounce games behind closed doors, I think, to try and get them players some minutes. So look, I think plenty to work on. That there is reason to be positive. Players are coming in. They're getting to grips with the system. There were some good passages of play, particularly in the second half. When Liam Miller gets fitter, that was his. He started today. That was his first league start. Plenty of good moments. There was one second half which is classic Liam Miller. If you've seen the highlight reels of him last year at Preston and playing for Basel, Liam Miller's kind of SP is standing up his defender, taking him on, going past him, or cutting inside and getting the shot away. And we saw that, and it was close. He came in down this left-hand side, cut in and fizzed the shot. I think it was, he came down the left-hand side, went outside and fizzed across a shot across goal, and it was only inches wide. And perhaps, as we saw against Bristol City last week with Oscar not getting on the end of it, maybe when Mason Burstow's been in the club and he's trained with Liam Miller, maybe that he knows. He'll know to gamble on those a bit more, and potentially another striker coming in, which we expect to see in the near future, hopefully, because obviously there's not much time of the window left. So I was encouraged by Liam Miller's performance. I thought he got better as the game wore on. I thought Alfie Jones recovered after a really poor opening. Pandor's a good shot stopper. He made a couple of good saves, again, as I said before, that you'd expect him to make. Footwork wise, he gives me the heebie-jeebies, and I like Ivor. He's a fantastic guy, but his footwork is concerning, and I think that's eventually what we'll see. I think we will see Anthony Richopi come in as number one. He's not ready yet. He's still getting to grips with a new environment, a new club, a new country, etc. But I do feel long term that Richopi will be City's number one. Folks, thank you for the questions coming in. There's quite a few on Seri. He's the player. There's interest in Oscar, he could go, Estupiñán. There's interest in Sean McLaughlin, he could go. Seri is the one I would expect to go, not could go, I would expect to go. He's not playing, you think of Wednesday night, he made a difference, as I said. He came on and he gave City a degree of control in the middle of the park. When they needed that degree of control in the middle of the park here, instead of throwing on Mika Seri, he tweaked things tactically slightly, and he asked for more from the players out there. He didn't throw on Mika Seri, and you kind of feel that he just doesn't suit Tim Walter's style, which is a real shame, because Mika is a wonderful human being. He's a fantastic character. His experience, the lack of experience concerns me. I think if Mika was to go, he's 33, the next oldest player would be Lewie Coyle at 27, 28. That's a big, and that for me is a concern. I know Tim, again, that's just my opinion. My opinion is as valid as all you guys are. For me, I think they're lacking solid experience. Tim disagrees. He thinks that it's not about age; it's about what you've done in the game, how many games you've played. He thinks he said to me the other day that Charlie Hughes' experience. Well, Charlie Hughes has not played in the Championship. He's played 78 games for Wigan, but he's not experienced at playing Championship level, and this is a huge step up from League One, so he's going to need time to adapt to not only playing at a high level, but also in a completely alien system. And that is the key thing. Rooney said it just now. It's extraordinary what Tim is trying to do, and the way he plays, and it's baffling at times to watch. fascinating but baffling. Imagine what it's like for the players that have got to learn it quickly, and they've got to do it in a competitive game. So it's going to take players like Mason, particularly Charlie Hughes, who's got to come in and become that marauding centre-back, the one that can bring the ball out and also become a number 10. That's something that he's going to have to adapt to quickly, but he's only 20. So yeah, sorry, who was that? Was it Darren? Yeah, I agree. I liked Surrey the other night. I thought he changed the game in our favour. But look, it's horses for courses, isn't it? Managers have different ideas. Surrey's not going to play. He's clearly not going to play. You know, he was massive last season. This season he isn't. At the minute, it's Xavier Simons is the player. With Regan, Abdush was poor today. He had a free kick just before half time, which he sort of fluffed wide. Probably summed up his performance. That he just couldn't get in the game. He couldn't do anything meaningful with and without the ball. So look, I'm still positive. I've got concerns. I can't, as I said that before, I can't deny I've got concerns about what I'm watching. But I do believe that. I hope that in time it will click. It's just going to take time. I think we're all going to have to be patient with the fact that this is such a different style. But you are getting. I mean, you can't say it's not entertaining. I mean, I'd like it to be entertaining, but also with a greater degree of control and a greater element of control in the game and creating meaningful attempts at goal. But you know, Marvin Malem had a brilliant chance first half where he skied it from Lewie Coyle's cross. He should do better with that. So you know, it's moments in games, and look, let's be realistic. It's the second game of the season, and you speak to any manager, and they still treat this is still effectively pre-season for them. So we need to caveat it with that. So couple of quick final points. Transfers. I think that the player's called Nefum, a guy from Hamburg, a defensive midfielder. I believe they're in talks with him. There's a winger they're in talks with and another striker. So we'll see what developments come to pass over the next week. They need more players. This last 2 weeks have been really good. Obviously signing players like Richopi, Finn Burns. He came on and did a job. He looked bright again today. Obviously we had the 3 yesterday, which we knew about. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was another one potentially in the door before Millwall on Saturday. But it is a watch this space. But for me, they do need a number 6. We don't know what we're going to get from Zambrano. They need somebody that can do the Surrey role, funnily enough. It sounds mad to say it when you've got Surrey sitting there. But look, I think he wants to go. I think he wants to go and play football. You know, there is interest in, as we've been reporting for quite a long time now, there's interest in Surrey from Saudi Arabia, potentially for a lot of players, particularly at Surrey's age at 33. That's a life-changing move for him and his family. But they need a really good number 6, experienced number 6 that can come in, take the ball, carry them forward, but also be that protective shield that, you know, if Pandor makes a dodgy pass out, he's there to cover them, because at the minute that isn't happening. So that's where we're at. As I say, I wouldn't be surprised if there was another one in the door before Saturday. 1904 Club with myself, Fletch, Burnsy and Prutz. Monday. Get your questions into the 1904 Club on Twitter now. Lee, can't not mention the away supporters. I think officially we were given 625, which is a top effort. It took me hours yesterday coming down and crawling all the way down the M5. So, and particularly for those that have come on the coaches today, absolute credit, because you know, you would have left at some ungodly hour this morning and you'll be getting back at some ungodly hour tonight. You know, and you've got to navigate the Hughes Bridge, which, you know, I'm not convinced in any of our lifetimes we'll ever see the Hughes Bridge restored to parity and we'll be able to travel at that at 70 miles an hour again. So that's a killer, isn't it, when you're almost home and you've got that. But full credit to all the fans that came down here this afternoon. You know, they backed their team really well, and it is if you've come down for the weekend, I'm sure, you know, you've had a good weekend. At least you've seen your team get a positive result, because, as I say, when Sissoko rattled in that goal early in the second half, it looked like it might be another one of those where, you know, you've travelled a long way and got very little reward for it. So, excuse me, come past, you're fine. So thanks for everybody for watching. Keep in touch. Look, Harvey, look, just on that one arrival before Millwall, it could be more, but let's not, you know, we knew there was going to be, we knew Zambrano, Hughes and and Burstow were in the offing, and there was a chance they'd get done for this weekend. They have. They've still got work to do. They need probably 4 or 5 more, don't they? I think we would all. Yeah, you're fine, mate. I think we'd all agree that they need 4 or 5 more. They need another winger. It's hoped that Cynic will be back in about 4 or 5 weeks, but we've not seen him for a year, pretty much. We don't know what that's going to look like. We don't know if he's going to come back and offer anything, if he's going to stay fit. Obviously, Ryan Longman's out for a period of time now. After he had surgery on his shoulder on Wednesday. They just need more quality, and it's up front where they need actual quality up front. I've not seen enough from Oscar Estepinen yet to suggest he's the man. Mason looks bright, but he's going to need time. He's only 21. He's not played that many senior games, so this is a big step up for him. They need a 25-year-old, 26-year-old striker to come in that can hit the ground running and be their focal point, and then you can drip in Mason Burstow without having to put him up front and pin all your hopes on a 21-year-old kid that's not really played much senior football. I'm just not seeing it from Oscar at the minute. I'm not seeing the movement. I'm not seeing enough from him to suggest that in this system he is going to score the goals that they need. In fairness to Oscar, he's only been back a month, so it will take time, and that is the key message. I know it's a message that none of us want to hear, but it is going to take time for a lot of the players and the system. So look, thank you as always for your comments. For Giles, Peter, I thought he did okay today. I feel that there's more to come from Ryan Giles. We'll have to wait and see what happens in the next 10 days or so. But I do feel like I feel better with him at left back than I did Matty Jacob. I think Jacob would benefit from a loan at championship level, perhaps, or somewhere like Rotherham maybe in League One, where he's going to play every week. He's going to get bounced around. I think back to the goal that we conceded here on the final day of last season. He was caught back post, ball watching, and Edwards has done him with a header. We've seen that from Matty Jacob quite a few times. Jordan, yeah, there's money on the table. They offered money for Tommy Conway. They came in late. I think he was always going to Borough. They came in late, but there is money, and if there's a striker deal there that will cost money, they will do it. Now, I know there's been interest in Stansfield. I don't think that's a live one right now. They've got other. I think that from what I've been told, they've got 2 or 3 other targets that they're looking at. But one of them at the minute isn't Stansfield, and other reasons. I think there's a general consensus that if Stansfield's going to leave Fulham, he's probably going to go to Birmingham. I know Stoke are sniffing around, but Fulham might also want to keep him yet. So we'll have to wait and see. But the Stansfield, wherever Stansfield goes, you kind of feel that is going to be back end of the week after next. So right on the cusp of the window closing. So look, City are going to be busy. They're going to sign a few more players. Yeah, I think there's a lot of work to do, and Tim still wants more numbers. They're still short. Their squad's getting into a position of strength, but I saw a few comments yesterday suggesting that this squad is now about where last season's squad, and it just isn't. It just is nowhere near. With the greatest respect, you've replaced Greavesy with Charlie Hughes, and Charlie, it's a great signing, but he's 20. He's not played in the Championship of any note. He's played 78 games. That's Greavesy was the best player in the Championship, but best defender in the Championship. We've seen him go and have a barnstorming game today in the Premier League against Liverpool. They've not replaced. What they've done is they've replaced Greavesy with a huge talent and a player capable potentially of making that step in a year, 2 year, 3 year time. But not now. Liam Miller's a very good signing. Very good signing. Love that signing. But he's not at the level of Jadon Philogene yet. They've brought in Marvin Malem, who I've seen bits from so far and I've been impressed. But he's not Fabio Carvalho. They've signed Mason Burstow from Chelsea. He's not Liam Delap. Liam Delap arrived at City after a season in the Championship, didn't go particularly well, but he played a season in the Championship, but Mason hasn't. So I think it's folly to suggest that the squad at the minute is anywhere near what the level of the squad it was that finished the season. Last season you finished with Tyler Morton as well, and Zaroury. I know Zaroury's move didn't work out, but you've got Anas Zaroury in a squad, a really capable, and he's going to be playing for Burnley. So I think they're still a mile away from last season. They're going in the right direction. The work they've been doing in the last couple of weeks has been good. I like the profile I like the idea of Mason. I think that's a good one to work with for the future. But he's for the future. You know, hopefully he can have an impact now. But you know, he's not a striker that's coming in with 15, 20 goals under his belt last season. He had a difficult one at Sunderland. You know, you're bringing in Liam Miller. Great signing, great. As I said, I think that's a fantastic signing. I really do, and I think he'll do great. But he's not Jaden Philogene. Philogene scored 12 goals and got 6 assists, and it was, has now gone to the Premier League again. So they're not at that level yet. They've still got a way to go, and hopefully by the end of the window they've got 2 or 3 more players in that will not only give Walter strength that he needs, but the quality. You can sign 20 players just like that. But they've got to be quality, they've got to be better than what's already in the building, and they've got to be able to take you to the next level. And the next level for Hull City is finishing in the playoffs. Let's forget the playoffs. Let's kill playoff talk right now, because until they get this system perfected as best they can and start winning football matches, they're not going to be anywhere near the playoffs. But we are only the second game into the season. They will get better, you'd hope. They will develop, they will get better players in, but I think we also need a bit of perspective that the players that left last season, Zaruri, Tyler Morton, Greaves, Philogene, Delap, that they haven't replaced that's not like for like. It's fanciful to think that is the case. It isn't. And they've bought a lot of potential, and Zambrano's another one. Great on paper. Looks a real talent. He's got something hanging over him, which we hope is resolved. But we don't know how he's going to adapt to the Championship. He might come in against Millwall and be a will beater and play the next 43 games and fantastic. But we don't know, and we can't put the pressure on him because he hasn't played. So, look, they're going in the right direction. Things are starting to happen. They're starting to bring in good players. Hughes is a fantastic signing. Love the idea of that. Love the profile. Fantastic. But they've got a lot of work to do yet if they're going to get to a position where they've got a strong squad, and when you think actually that is capable, because at the minute I still don't think that squad is capable of challenging for the top 6 in its current state. But come Christmas, they might be, because they might have got this style off to a tee, and they might start winning football matches. Until that happens, it's none of us know. But there are positive signs mixed in with some concerns about how they play out from the back, and how open they are in transition, and how little control they have at times in the game. It's all right playing swashbuckling football, it's all right being heart attack football and wanting to attack and entertain, but if you don't keep the back door shut, you're going to have a problem. So look, there's plenty to work with, I think it's fair to say. There's plenty to work with, and today, good point on the road. Credit to the fans that were down here. Safe journey back, and we'll be with you on Monday for the 1904 Club. Thank you very much.